All right, we get the Krueg show rolling on a Thursday night, early Thursday night. Watching a little bowl games. Was down in Santa Clara today. Hope everybody has having a phenomenal day. Man, it was a fun day in Santa Clara today. I got a chance to talk to George Kittle, Javon Kinlaw. Really interesting guys. Yesterday we got to talk to Ray McLeod, and that was interesting. Tabor Pepper. So we've been doing a number of interviews inside the Niner locker room, and today we got a couple done. And Matty B was there representing the Athletic. Matt, good vibes in Niner land right now. I don't know if it's the holidays or the kind of the upbeat nature of things since Brock Purdy's playing so well, or maybe they feel like they're the best team in the league. I'm not sure, but there is a definite good vibe coming out of their locker room.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because they're on an 8-game winning streak, and there's a sense that they're getting stronger in these last few games, just in terms of the guys that they're picking up. Obviously, Javon Kinlaw against the Commanders, and I think we're going to see Elijah Mitchell return to practice soon. Debo Samuel was back at practice today, so this is a good team that's on a roll that's getting better each week, and not just health. I think big storyline. You and I discussed it at the beginning of the season was the inexperience of this offensive line. Well, that offensive line is now played almost a full season together. They're better than they used to be. I think the safety tandem of Deshaun Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga is better now than it was at the beginning of the season. And you can go down the list. So that's the key is staying on a roll, being hot when you enter the playoffs. The 49ers certainly were last year, and it took them to the verge of the Super Bowl. That's what they want to kind of recapture that magic this year.
Well, I've got, as you know, I've got a whole list of things that I want to get your thoughts on. But first, let me go to the chat where MF says, "Any inside stories from Maddie's halftime access at the Bucks game?" Access is the name of the game. You had a little more access than normal during the Bucks game. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, this is something that I had asked Kyle Shanahan about in 2019. I said via the PR guy, "Hey, I think it would be cool if I got to sit in during a halftime, and I'll just be a fly on the wall. You won't even know that I'm there. What do you say?" And Shanahan at that point agreed, but it was at the end of that season, and he said, let's put it off until 2020." And I agreed. And then 2020, of course, was the COVID year, so there wasn't any way I was getting near the locker room. That wasn't even allowed in Levi's Stadium that year. And then 21 had COVID rules as well. So basically, I just revisited the request this year. He said yes. The only parameter or the only restriction was he really wanted me to be a fly on the wall. And it's not like I was going to go up to Brock Purdy and give him advice on his stance or anything like that during the session. But it's sort of the last frontier for a reporter. I had no idea really what happened inside an NFL locker room. I knew that it wasn't the win one for the Gipper type of
Right.
speech.
Fire and brimstone.
Exactly. I knew that those days are over. Maybe you've got time for that in college, but there was a little bit of rah-rah, and I don't want to give away everything that's in the story, which actually comes out
Yeah, when does the
Friday.
story come out? Okay, it comes out Friday.
Friday,
Tomorrow.
yeah. So it's coming out very shortly. But it was a mix of I'd say uh, coordinated chaos would be the way to describe it. There are a lot of moving parts in there, but it's part of their routines, and each guy is a different one, and there's a big classroom element to it, and it's all condensed into a little over 10 minutes. So it's pretty frantic. It's very intense, and I was really glad that I did it.
I also will grant you the access to, come in-house with me in the press box for one of my half times because I go immediately to the chicken nuggets.
Wow.
They're relatively dry, but I'll get 3 generally. I'll go with a little bit of ranch, a
Ooh,
little bit of
interesting.
barbecue, And then as it looks like I'm heading towards the water, no, I actually put my foot in the ground and I take a sharp turn to my left and I go right to the candy counter to see if there's more Vines, M&Ms, or Starburst. If there are no Starburst, I will go Sour Patch, but I can't go too many. I got to watch my figure. I gotta stay lean. I gotta stay lean. But
I've
that's my
noticed that.
routine. Then I usually double back, see if anybody saw the absurd amount of candy that I just assembled. And then when I don't see anybody there, I do kind of a wheel route. I kind of shoot up and then out towards along the wall, and then right back to my seat where I bury the stuff in my bag, so I can eat it in the fourth quarter.
Well, thank you for opening up that window to look into that sacrosanct ritual that you have.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a little upset with the candy situation too. First of all, I think it's entrapment. I mean, you've got the giant jars just full of it. I mean, it's like they're trapping an animal there. And then the other part is that they had Jolly Ranchers all year long, and then the last 2 weeks, no Jolly Ranchers. So they
Yeah.
got me hooked. They got me hooked like on Jolly Ranchers, like I'm an addict, and then they just yank them away. So I mean, what am I supposed to do with that?
Seriously, how am I supposed to get into the diabetic coma that I'm hoping to find if I can't eat as many Jolly Ranchers? You know what's really sad is I like the Jolly Ranchers, but I don't like the blue ones. So I'm that guy who gets his big hand in there, and I'm like, and
Oh, and
the
you're just
the
like,
jar's
yeah.
opening is only so big, and you're in there, and I'm like, I want a cherry and I want an apple, and I'm doing like finger or a give me one more cherry. Oh, I got a blue one. I'm throwing them back. It's a
That's
bad look.
that's how they trap animals in the South. Like they'll put a shiny object in a box that a raccoon can just snake his hand through, but when he grabs it, it makes a fist and it can't pull it out of the box, and so it gets trapped there. So I mean, this is very telling. This story.
Exactly.
Large
Uh,
mammal like you is allowing yourself to be trapped.
Occasionally, I'll go back to my seat, take like a deep breath. If they're still not back in the field, I'll be like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll go get a pretzel. And then sometimes if they'll say salt or no salt, and they only have salt on the pretzel, I'll take the salted pretzel, but then I usually go and desalt. And I don't want to do that just anywhere. I don't want to do it over a garbage can. There's nothing worse than desalting your pretzel and watching that rock salt fall on the
Wow, there's a
carpet.
lot happening at
There's
halftime here.
there's a
Man,
lot.
this
And
is
as you
more
said,
than
it's
I
only 10
thought.
minutes. And you got to be decisive, and you have to have a plan, and you got to have the proper footwork. All right. That being said, Mark Salas says, here's $5. Says, Matt, how come you don't start your own YouTube channel? Would love to hear your perspectives more often. You would have thousands of followers quickly. I agree, but man, what? Don't get Matt in this same arena.
Yeah, Mark,
Matt,
do
what do
you
you think?
really want to see this on screen all the time?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Mark, I do offer my insights in the written format. I know you have to pay for it, so that might be a bit of a bummer for some people. But yeah, I'm more of the written word than the spoken word.
But I'll say this: you are very good in electric media, whether it would be on KMBR 95.7 The Game, the radio, whether it be in this format. I think writing is great, and I love to read. But it's like if you could touch more people if you did more electric media stuff. Now, you and Dave do electric media, and you do kind of a back and forth. Tell people if they want to catch that, Matt, where they can go and how often you do that.
Yeah, it's our podcast, and we do it with Dennis Brown as well. He's the third member of that triumvirate, and we do it twice a week. We do it midweek, where we kind of look forward to the upcoming game, and then we do one immediately after the game, where we sort of digest what happened. And it's a podcast called "Here's the Catch," and yeah, you can find it on all the different podcast channels, and also our website has a link as well.
There you go. And check him out. MF says, love the athletic. Maddie does a great job. Avtar Singh says, agreed. Dave Lombardi is doing a great job. Dave, of course, has a huge presence on YouTube, and he's doing a lot. All right, let's get to Brock Purdy. Where are you with Brock Purdy? Are you like, I'm all in. I'm a believer, and I have been. But there are people that are still Don't believe it all. There's people that really are impressed and their eyes are open, but man, I really do need to see more. And that's fair. I mean, heck, we're only a few games into the guy's career. Where are you with your evaluation of Brock Purdy? Are you a believer? Are you wait and see? Are you don't believe? Where are you?
I mean, you want to have a healthy amount of skepticism because I mean, so many other quarterbacks who have looked really, really good early in their careers, their first few starts, and then they've fallen. But you also don't want to strain too far to find fault with a guy, and it's hard to find something that he's not doing well. I mean, if you really want to kind of go deep on it, I mean, he was having a little bit of trouble getting the play calls in, and this is a very wordy system that Kyle Shanahan has. So that's ubiquitous to quarterbacks. And he's gotten a few balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. So, my offseason advice to Brock Purdy is to grow 3 more inches, and then he might be able to avoid some of that. But I mean, he gets rid of the ball quickly. He's light on his feet. He's smart. He hits these receivers in stride. He throws a very catchable ball. He's a really nice fit for Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and all these guys that do all this yak stuff. And I thought that the deep ball was going to be an issue. I thought that was an issue in training camp with him. He really had to sort of get all of his weight into the throws and not a huge arm, but even that aspect has been really good. And a lot of that is the way that defenses are playing him. I mean, they're daring him to throw the ball deep. They're daring the 49ers not to rely on the running game. But to his credit, I mean, he and Kyle Shanahan have made them pay for it. And he's been very sharp. I forget what the figure is from Pro Football Focus, but it's something like 5 of 7 throws of 20 yards or more have been completions, and not just that, they've been touchdowns. So it's the best in the league, and he's not just getting big gouging plays; he's getting scores. So I mean, there's very little to critique at this point. Somebody was saying today, I think it was Chris Furster. What happens when he has his first bad game? That when that happens, some quarterbacks have a hard time recovering from that. How did this guy bounce back? But he hasn't had a bad game yet, so we don't really know that. And I think the answer to that is going to be he's going to do pretty well because I think his college career it had a lot of throws, a lot of opportunities. It was a bit up and down, high expectations, and he sort of learned to sort of manage himself, manage his emotions, and be more even keeled. So you've got this fiery person inside, which is what you want, but you also have somebody who's learned how to control that, which is also what you want. So, I mean, from a demeanor standpoint, I don't know if it gets any better than what he's been showing so far.
And then, then you go around the room as we have and talk to the players, and there's a belief. And I can see a phony a mile away. These guys seem genuine when they're talking about their belief in this quarterback. Shanahan, though, is the one I wanted to ask you about because Shanahan is a bad liar. I think he's a self-admitted bad liar. And he said something a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago or so. I'm not sure if I'm getting this right. So if I get it wrong, maybe you remember it. Something to the effect of like, Brock allows me to call the game that I need to call, or that call the game the way it needs to be called, as if he was kind of calling the plays around the quarterback prior to Brock. Am I stirring the pot too much there? Is that not how did you interpret it the same way? Did you hear that quote? What do you make of how Shanahan views Brock in comparison to Garoppolo and obviously Trey?
I don't remember the quote, but I mean, it sounds like going back to what I just said that he's able to call a play that fits the situation, so that if they are creeping up to the line of scrimmage, he can hit over the top and this, that, and the other. I mean, this is Shanahan's dream, is to this is overstating it, but the star of the Shanahan offense is Shanahan. And he's the brain, and he wants a body out there that is can kind of do the things that he's thinking about. And so far, I mean, again, keep waiting for the moment that there's a stumble. But so far, that interface, that brain and body interface, Shanahan the brain, Purdy the body, has been flawless. And I mean, you go back to Kirk Cousins, you go back to Matt Schaub. He doesn't need a magnificent athlete back there. He needs somebody that can process what Shanahan is processing and can sort of, put that into practice on the field. And that's what Purdy's done.
Mark Salas is just intent on getting you in the he says, I'm paying for this, Matt, and you would get paid a lot more. Ask David. He's wanting you badly to start your own YouTube channel. What is the biggest concern for you if you wanted to see the 49ers get that 6th Super Bowl ring this year, and we're sitting here almost at the beginning of January? What's the biggest concern?
One concern I think is that last year they had to play lights out in order to make it into the playoffs, and they played some really good teams at the end of the season and beat those teams. They went on the road and they beat Cincinnati, a team that eventually went to the Super Bowl. They went on the road. They lost to Tennessee. I'm trying to think of some of the other end of season. Yeah, they went on the road and they beat the Rams, the eventual Super Bowl champions. They were not only rolling, but they were knocking off good teams. I mean, and again, we're having to sort of look real hard for some issues with this current team. But one is that all the teams that they're playing are flawed. Each of these last few opponents, and certainly these last two opponents in the Raiders and the Cardinals, are not that good. And I just wonder whether, not through no fault of their own, the 49ers are doing everything right, but it's just the caliber of competition. I'm wondering if that's sharpening them up enough for the playoffs. And then the other parts are, I mean, I mentioned Hufanga and Gibson. I think that they've been really good, but if there is a fault, it's that neither of these guys is all that fast. You would think that there is some issues on the back end. It really hasn't manifested itself all season. So I'm almost having to kind of invent problems just to talk about it. So there's that, and then the ubiquitous, what happens if there's an injury problem? I mean, if Brock Purdy got injured, and by the way, he got injured in his first ever start, so it's not out of the realm. But then you'd be going with Josh Johnson, at least until the point that Jimmy Garoppolo is ready to play again, and that's probably a month away.
The Niners have another quarterback in that room too. Is it Jacob Eason? Is that who it is?
Yeah.
And Jacob Eason, former Georgia Bulldog, former UW Husky. I was talking to him tonight about, I'm like, hey, you going to watch your UW Huskies against Texas tonight? He's got a ton of talent. I mean, and we're talking about guys, he throws the ball terrific. He might have been a 5-star guy in high school. Any indication on what they plan to do with him? He seems really happy just to be around Shanahan in this offense, in an organization like this. And he sounds like he's taking the long-range view, but he's a talented kid. I mean, he really is. But I think it's interesting that they have Josh Johnson as the 3, and then they've got Eason there to kind of develop. Have you heard them any thoughts at all about Eason from anybody?
I haven't, but I mean, I see the same things that you do. I mean, it could be that the best throwers on this team are Josh Johnson and Jacob Eason, and I'm including Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo in that mix. You look at Eason. I remember when he first came in, and I thought, oh, who's the new tight end that the 49ers signed? He's got that long, lanky tight end build, and he's got quite an arm on him as well. So, I'm sure that he's just kind of eating up the opportunity to learn this system. It'll serve him well no matter what. But it's a good question about what the composition of this quarterback room is in the spring in OTAs when they usually keep 4 guys. And so you can easily see, obviously, Purdy and Lance, both of them on their rookie contracts, and then a developmental guy, maybe that's Eason, and then you probably want to bring a veteran into that mix. And to me, Josh Johnson would fit that very nicely. So it would be a very economical and interesting quartet if that's the 4 that you want.
What do you make if Purdy keeps playing this way? I mean, this is the whole debate. We can't, and it's hard to. The players and the coaches have to look at the next game, the next game, the next game. We have the luxury. We can look ahead. What is Purdy's ascension and unbelievable? I mean, we're not just covering a story. If he keeps playing this well, this is the biggest story in the NFL this year and one of the biggest stories in the NFL in years. What does this story, if it becomes the story that so many Niner fans are rooting it to be, that Brock Purdy leads them to the championship game, that Brock Purdy leads them to the Super Bowl, or unbelievably that Brock Purdy wins Super Bowl number 6? What will that do to Trey Lance with the 49ers and his future?
I mean, I think the lesson that the 49ers keep learning over and over is that you can't have too many of these guys because they keep getting hurt. And I mentioned, I mean, Purdy's already, we don't really know what this injury is. They haven't specified it. But I think when we do know, when he's fully healthy and somebody finally reveals it, it's going to end up being, we're going to be like, oh, I didn't realize it was that. I mean, it's an oblique, but there's also a rib element to it. And I don't know whether that's a broken rib, a cracked rib, a torn rib cartilage, but you get rib involved and it's a pretty big deal. So, I mean, I think it's not going to affect Trey Lance's spot on the roster. It certainly could affect, who's where when training camp begins. And the 49ers have to make that choice because what we learned from the transition from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo is that it's not, a smooth one. It's pretty abrupt as far as the type of offense that's being run. So if you're going to, commit to Trey Lance, you got to do it from, May 1st onward. And vice versa. So there's very little kind of I shouldn't say there's little overlap, but they're pretty distinct approaches, I think, and maybe that influences things. Maybe Trey Lance's injury plus Brock Purdy's success means that okay, maybe we don't have such a run-oriented offense with the quarterback running so much with Trey Lance in there. Maybe it's more Garoppolo and Purdy-esque. I mean, I personally would do that, just given the issues that they ran into immediately with that approach. But yeah, I think it's sort of an embarrassment of riches type of situation, and you don't need to kind of scrutinize it too closely. If you're having success with one guy at the end of the season, that's your guy at the beginning of the next season.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And yet, there'll be so much banter.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, the Niner fans can't get enough quarterback analysis. They're in a really interesting situation as far as they've already clinched the 2. They are, I guess they can't fall to the 3 seed, right? They're the 2 seed, or they can't fall lower than the 3 seed, I should say.
Right.
They can
They're
get
the 3
the 2
right
seed.
now. Yeah.
And they could get the 1 seed if they won out and the Eagles lost out. Not likely to happen. Lots of people will throw out, hey, Shanahan ought to sit all of his regulars. Well, you can't do that in pro football, but you can handpick a guy or 2. And there's already been references this week to, will it be Nick Bosa? Will it be Christian McCaffrey? What is your best guess on how is there a body or 2 or player or 2 that Shanahan and the coaching staff badly want to rest up in one of these last 2 games? Or do you think they're going to sprint through the finish line as a team and just don't worry about the rest factor?
Yeah, I think if there's nothing to be gained in that last game, then Shanahan approaches it like the traditional 3rd preseason game, or maybe it's the 1st preseason game now, but the one where they play the most. So it would be Christian McCaffrey through 3 quarters. I mean, I think that's the absolute soonest that he would remove a key player like that from a game because he said, I mean, it's more important to be on a roll than it is to rest these guys. And McCaffrey would be the one that sticks out because he did get used heavily in Carolina before he got here. And everybody saw his usage against the Seahawks. That was a big game. That was like a throwback Earl Campbell type of usage game. You don't really see that from a running back anymore, and he's so important that it might be worth it to do that. But Shanahan has stated very clearly. He said this is something he's thought about. That the teams that end up resting their guys usually are the ones that find they're a little bit sluggish when the playoffs begin, and then all of a sudden, there's no bouncing back from that. You're screwed at that point.
Mark Salas again, $5. Lastly, Matt, when you start your YouTube channel, remember to commit to a weekly show with Larry, as he did with Grant.
Very good.
Maybe Mark Salas is really just my burner account, and I'm throwing money around to try to get Matt to do a regular YouTube show. All right, last question, because I want to. To me, this is the Niners in a nutshell. The real interesting part of this football team is the defensive line, and all their resources are in it. I think they got 2 starting caliber lines: Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, Ebukam is the ones. Call it Jordan Willis, T.Y. McGill, Kevin Givens, Amenahue are your 2s. You got Kerry Hyder, you got Drake Jackson, you got Akeem Spence. I mean, they got guys. They got Kalia Davis on the NFI. All right. What do you make of this group as far as T.Y. McGill's playing great? What's the status update physically on Hyder and Givens? And I talked to Kinlaw today, and I was telling him that, man, if he has, just a great month, a dominant month of football, he plays his best ball in the next month, he may be wearing a Super Bowl ring, and he may be one of the main reasons why. And he said he thought they were a Super Bowl team, whether he fulfilled his potential or not. That's how Javon feels. But give me your thoughts on the 49er defensive line. And also, I guess the big question I have is Kalia Davis. I'm watching Davis in practice. He's lightning fast. He's a really exciting player. Can they call him off the NFI list and add him to the roster? Give me the breakdown on the D-line. Several issues there.
Yeah, I mean, Davis is interesting because, we've been wringing our hands over the fact that the 49ers have very few return from IR designations left. They only have 1, and that's earmarked for Elijah Mitchell. But because he's on NFI, Davis doesn't have to adhere to that. So they could bring him up. He'd just be sort of like a bonus type of player. My sense with him is that they just wanted to get him on a roll, get him used to practice, get him going, send him into the off season really well because they're gonna rely on him next year. He's definitely in the mix next year because so many of those guys that you just mentioned are free agents. I mean, everybody but Bosa, Armstead, Drake Jackson, and Kinlaw are free agents on that defensive line. So they have to make some decisions there. That to me is interesting. We saw a really nice game on Saturday from Jordan Willis, for example. I think that he would be a really nice candidate, maybe if not for the starting role opposite Bosa, because Ebukam is in that role right now. He's a free agent. Do they re-sign Ebukam? Do they turn it over to Drake Jackson? Do they do a combination of Drake Jackson and Jordan Willis? Where is Amenahue in this mix? They've got some decisions to make along the defensive line, and that's why Kalia Davis, I think, certainly factors into 2023. I don't know whether they see him as plausible for this season. It may end up being, what if a few of these guys gets injured in these last 2 games? Then I think the likelihood of that increases. But to answer your initial question, Harry Hyder will play in this game. He deserves a lot of credit. He got hurt. A number of guys got hurt in that Tampa Bay game. along the D line, and he sprained his ankle. And he kind of sucked it up and played on a short week on turf in Seattle. Started that game. As he's told me, he's playing on one wheel the whole time, but made it through that one. But the ankle suffered enough that he had to sit out the Commanders game. He'll be back. Givens is on track to be back. That's probably not going to happen until either next week or the first week in the playoffs.
Maddie, great stuff. So tomorrow you've got people should check out Maddie in the Athletic. Tomorrow you have the whole piece on your behind the scenes sit down inside the Niners locker room during halftime of the Bucs game. What else are you working on before Sunday?
Before Sunday, I did talk to Jordan Willis. That's actually a rare interview. He doesn't like to talk.
Right.
He's
I've never seen him in there.
Introverted. But some interesting things in that one. He's really kind of changed his body composition to the better. This was a guy coming out of Kansas State that we talk about get off times and 10-yard splits. He was I think he's a 2017 draft pick, but he was at the top of his draft class just in terms of quickness and speed and all that stuff. That's always been there, but he's added a power element to that this year that I think has really benefited him. So talk to him. So I'll have a story about that later in the week as well.
Awesome stuff. Well, Maddie's a great follow on Twitter. Matt, thanks for stopping by. We'll let you go. Have a terrific night and enjoy Vegas. Just because the Niners can't go out on New Year's Eve doesn't mean Matt Barrows can't go out on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I'll be in the Bellagio fountain by 3 a.m.
We have a Matt Barrows sighting in the fountain. See you, Maddie.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.
All right. Matt Barrows. Awesome. Matt Barrows. Love Matt Barrows. He does a terrific job. Check out Matt Barrows in the Athletic. All right. We're going to read the chat here, but first let's get a couple words from our sponsor, and then we'll be back with some final thoughts and also a look at the chat and let you know what we got coming up next on the Krueg Show. That's all coming up next.
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com, or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled. and they are.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York style sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
Hey Pasquale, Dan Cochimilio here for the Krueg Show. Just picked up for the very first time some of your New York style Italian sausage here at Sam's Club in Arizona. My wife just cooked it and I'm about to take a bite. Man, this is good. Pasquale, when you winked and said you guaranteed we'd love it, you're right. This stuff is absolutely amazing. Best sausage I've ever tasted. Thank you, Pasquale.
All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. Dan always makes me laugh when I watch that. That just makes me laugh all the time. So thanks to Matt Barrows for stopping by and joining us on the Krueg Show. We had a little audio problem. It sounded like we'll check the mics and we'll check the lines afterwards. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that Niner discussion. Now, we were down in Santa Clara today, myself, Ryan Smith, and then after Thursday Night Football, I was just looking at Cowboys are beating the Titans on Thursday Night Football, 17-6. Dallas has the ball. Dallas has the lead. Titans have the ball with 6 minutes to play in the third quarter. Zeke Elliott has scored. Maher kicked a field goal. Bullock's kicked a couple field goals. Dalton Schultz scored, the former Stanford tight end. Dallas is up 17-6 in this game. Dallas a big favorite, looking for their 12th win of the year. Titans are trying to stop their free fall. They're 7-6. Or wait, 7-6, 7-8. They're 7-8. So is that right? Yeah, 7-8. Yeah, 7-8. 7-8 Titans, it looks like, unless that's a 6. I can't read that. Anyway, either way, Titans are in a free fall, not playing good football. And tonight they're going with Josh Dobbs as their starting quarterback. So go figure with that one. I would expect Dallas will win. When that game ends, we're going to do another live stream tonight. Myself, Ryan Smith, Dan Cochimilio will be back with you doing a live stream after Thursday Night Football, and we're going to let you see some of the interviews. I mentioned that I caught up with Javon Kinlaw and George Kittle today. Also talked to Charvarius Ward, had an extended conversation with Charvarius Ward, and he kind of gave me his thoughts on Devontae Adams, all of the Niner receivers, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. It'll be very interesting when you listen to how he rates them, how he ranks them, and his feelings on these top wide receivers that the Niners may face between now and Super Bowl Sunday. We've got this one on the Super Chat from Calvin Hobbs, or Calvin's Hobbs. All right, $9.99 says Larry should play the lottery this week. Oh, Larry should play the lottery this week as he was one of the first analysts to bang the drum for Brock Purdy. I love your channel. Keep up the great work, or keep up the great job. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you, man. I don't want to say it was blind luck because I do have a personnel background, but I got to be honest. I didn't love the pick on draft day when I saw it. It was after I did the deep dive and really read about Brock and then studied his college film and then saw him in minicamp that I started to get intrigued. By the end of minicamp, I thought, man, this guy's pretty accurate. Let's see if we see it when the pads come on in training camp. Sure enough, they did. And then he really played the best of any of the quarterbacks in the preseason. That's when I was sold. That's when I felt like he was a lock to make the roster. Frankie says, Larry, is Dak Prescott better than Brock? Well, it's hard to say. I mean, Dak Prescott is turning the ball over a lot. And I think Dak Prescott has like 8 interceptions in like the last 5 games. So I would probably say Prescott's the better player based on everything else we know. But as far as who's playing better right now, I mean, taking care of the football is a major part of playing quarterback in the NFL. So to me, Dallas has 2 major problems. Prescott and the fact that he's not taking care of the football, and the fact that, Jacksonville gouged him for 7.1 yards per carry. MF says, I heard Brock Purdy say today that Greasy and Kubiak had a FaceTime with him as his first interaction with the Niners. Yeah, and those are the Niners quarterback people, and I'm sure they wanted to do a little FaceTime with him, but I think it was a scout who actually first was, most excited about Brock Purdy. But hey, you know what? There's going to be, when they write the Brock Purdy story, there's going to be people running saying that they knew all along. I absolutely knew. I had a sense. I had a whatever. Believe who you want to believe. But the Niners are the one team that can say, hey, we drafted him. We drafted him. He's our guy. It's like everybody missed on Brady. But the Patriots, you could say missed less, right? Because they took him in the 6th round. Kamiga says Steve Slowick is the guy who was credited. John Lynch credited Steve Slowick with originally spotting the talent in Brock and kind of originally banging the table for Brock. And Calba, I appreciate that. I'm going to request Steve Slowick with the PR staff and see if it gets me anywhere. I would love to have him on and talk a little bit about what his initial thoughts were when he saw Brock play for the first time. BV50, Larry, can you see Jimmy G playing for the Raiders next year? Well, I did see the odds came out today on who the next Raider quarterback would be. And the favorite, not Jimmy G, Tom Brady. But Jimmy G was the second choice. And I actually think Jimmy G should be the favorite. You got to remember, New England's general manager and head coach, or Raiders general manager and head coach, come from New England. So there's a likelihood that McDaniels and their general manager have an affinity for Jimmy G and a belief in Jimmy G. So I think the Raiders would make, and can't you picture Jimmy in Vegas? I mean, it just seems like a perfect fit in a lot of ways. So I could see Jimmy in Vegas with the Raiders for sure. But you never know. I mean, Jimmy also is a very competitive guy and really wants to win. And what are the odds that there's a team out there that are better than the Raiders who come calling? Probably pretty good, right? Because the Raiders are one of the worst teams in pro football. So, that's going to be an interesting one. Does Jimmy go to the Raiders, or does he have a better option than the Raiders and he shuns the Raiders for that better option? That we don't know. And I would say the Raiders will make a big play for Jimmy. Brady is I don't know. I mean, Brady says he's not going to retire, but I think maybe he should. I mean, he looked great against the Niners, I thought, but he needs to get out of Tampa because to me there is a terrible vibe right now between Brady and Mike Evans. And I don't know if Brady doesn't like Mike Evans, if Mike Evans doesn't like Brady, but they were jawing on the sideline, back and forth, and Evans has had some really poor efforts the last 2 or 3 games and going for footballs in a crowd. And you know what? I mean, that's why the trust has to be there, because there's probably 6 or 7 50-50 balls that every quarterback in the league's got to throw every week. And so you got to have a belief. I'm like, if you're ever in an NFL locker room and you got a receiver and he's talking highly about a quarterback, he'll usually say, or quarterback talking highly about the receiver, I should say. The quarterback will often say, oh man, X and X, such and such receiver, he'll go get it for you. In other words, I'm going to put it in the air and he's going to decide if it's an interception or not by how hard he goes for it. And right now, I think Mike Evans is making Tom Brady look bad. Mike Evans has terrific ball skills, big size, has been in the league for a long, long time. But I think some of the efforts that he's shown at going after some of the balls that I've seen Brady throw him the last month are pathetically bad. So I don't know. I sense bad vibes there, and Evans is going to be there. So if I'm Brady, I might want to get the hell out of there, because otherwise Evans is going to sink you. Calba Kamiga donates $10. He says, Larry, fantasy, which 2 of the 3 do I start this week against MF? Godwin against Carolina, Etienne at Houston, Devontae Smith against New Orleans. I need the help because he has Hurts now, because friggin' Dan cut Hurts. Did Danny really cut Hurts? That is bad. I'm gonna have to bang on Dan for that. Well, to me, I'm playing the running back. Etienne's been really good. He's coming on. Houston doesn't stop the run all that well. I think I'm definitely playing Etienne. Then it's a matter of, do you go with Devontae against the Saints or Godwin against Carolina? Well, that's tough. I would probably go with Devontae against the Saints, but then what if the Eagles come out and run the ball 45 times? I would read it all you could read. To me, it's a Godwin versus Devontae Smith call. The other thing with Godwin, how many points is Tampa even going to score against Carolina? See, I know the Eagles are going to score points, even against New Orleans, which is a good defense. I just don't know that Devontae is going to get the action. I think Godwin's going to get the action, but I don't know that they're going to score a lot of touchdowns against Carolina. I would think they're not. I don't like the way Tampa's offense is looking. If it was me, I'd go with my gut, and I'd go with Etienne and Devontae. But if you lose, don't blame me. Don't blame me. Please don't blame me. All right, that's going to do it for us right now. We'll be back after Thursday Night Football with more on the Krueg Show. Oh, by the way, we've got 172 people still hanging in the room well after Matt Barrows said goodbye. We went in the last like 10 days from 8,000 subscribers to over 9,000. Yesterday, we broke 9,000. Okay, yesterday. Today, as I'm sitting here, we have 9,256 subscribers, and we are desperately trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and we'd love to do it before January 1st. I don't know if it's possible. Many of the guys here do believe it's possible. I'm not sure it is. We're now at 9,257 subscribers. So just went up one. So if you're one of the roughly 200 people still in the chat and you've yet to subscribe, hit subscribe. By hitting like, that really helps the algorithm, which helps the channel grow. By hitting subscribe, all that will do is it will send you a little alert every time we're going to go live. So every time we're going to go live, you'll get a little alert, and you'll know that if you want to check us out, you can check us out. It doesn't cost you a penny, but yeah, if you could like and subscribe, that would help the channel tremendously. We're now at 9,259. So a couple people just did it. I really do appreciate that. Now we're at 9,260. So we're trying to get to 10,000 before January 1st. If you haven't subscribed, like and subscribe to the channel. That would help us tremendously, tremendously. All right. Later on tonight, we're not just going to have a live stream. We're going to talk more Niner football. We're going to talk about some of these bowl games. Washington going up top. Oh, incomplete. I took the Huskies getting 3 tonight against the Longhorns, and it was a road game. It is a road game for UW because it's in the Alamo Bowl, and you got to think there's more Texas fans in the house. But I love Michael Penix, the quarterback for the Huskies, and he just got an absolute howitzer of an arm. And they're getting 3, and I think they're going to win outright. They're up 10-3 at this point. So I'm watching that. Big day in bowl games, big day in college football. We can talk a little college football, Thursday night football, Niners, Raiders. We'll look ahead. We'll mix in a little baseball. We'll talk a little Warriors as well. They got a nice little win, and their young guys are starting to come on. So we got a lot to talk about, and we'll do it tonight. And as I said, we were in the locker room the last 2 days. So I did really what I think are some really good interviews. Tabor Pepper. Today I sat down with Javon Kinlaw, George Kittle, Charvarius Ward for an extended period of time. I think it's like 10, 12 minutes with Charvarius Ward. Really must listen stuff because he broke down all of his favorite receivers, broke down all of the Niner receivers, what he thinks of them individually as players, kind of gave me the scouting report on the Eagles receivers, Justin Jefferson, the Vikings #1 receiver. Tyreek Hill. We talked about his Chief days. We talked about going to the Pro Bowl versus going to the Super Bowl and what his real goals are. So really enjoyable 12 minutes with Charvarius. So we're going to play that tonight. We're going to play you our Javon Kinlaw interview. We're going to play you our Tabor Pepper interview. We'll play you our George Kittle interview. Caught up with Kittle today for the first time in the Niner locker room. So that's all coming up later on tonight. And these are not guys at the podium or what we call gangbangs where it's like, 900 reporters and I ask one question. These are interviews that we've gotten inside the Niner locker room, all original content. So check us out after the Thursday night game, somewhere around 9 o'clock. We'll jump in 8:30, 9 o'clock, either about an hour and a half from now. We'll jump in with Danny and with Rye, and we'll read your chats and talk more Niners and talk more football and play those interviews from the last couple of days down in Santa Clara. So I'd like to thank everybody for being a participant here. Mario in the chat says, Larry, you guys have a great show and a great platform. It's truly a joy to watch you guys. Great job. Thank you very much, sir. We do appreciate that. El Camilo Dorado says, bring Pasquale in and you'll hit 10,000 subscribers. We are going to have Pasquale on shortly, actually. I love this one from you. Follow Larry, you bums. Oh, man. Calba saying, Larry's putting in the work. Yeah, well, you know what? We're having fun. We're having a lot of fun with the channel for sure. And hope you're enjoying the content. We're enjoying putting it out. MF, I know badly you want Tim Ryan. I will get Tim Ryan. But yeah, we're trying to get to 10,000 subs before the end of the year. I don't know that it's possible because, as I said, it's going to be an uphill battle because we're at 9,600 or 9,261. So it's not like we're cresting 9,500 and or 9,700 or 9,800. We just need a couple hundred. We need a few people between now and New Year's Eve, but 9,261 total subscribers right now. And I appreciate every single one of you guys. Really do. Benny says, Larry, do you like skateboarding? Do I like skateboarding? I do like skateboarding. I don't skateboard anymore, but, I had a Powell Peralta back in the day. I had a killer Santa Cruz board. I got my kid a really cool skateboard that's in the garage right now. A couple Christmases ago. It's now it's now collecting dust. Avatar Singh says, Larry, bring on Greg Papa. Okay, we can get Pop on here. We've got this one from Bob. Bob says, thanks for what you do, Larry. Enjoyed the show with Grant Cohn today. Well, appreciate that. Yeah, Grant's a good guy. BV90 says, great show. Thank you. Benny says, awesome. So sick. Michael says, do like Grant and chop up clips and post as separate content. That should increase views. Thank you, Michael. We are going to do that in great number. We have been doing that, but nobody quite does it to the degree that Grant does. And that's the goal in 2023 for me to get, last year I started the channel. We've worked on it. We started it in March. As we said, we're approaching 10,000 subs. So I like the progress that the channel has made up till now, but my New Year's resolution is to take this channel to the next level in 2023. And that means I need all of your support and all of your help to do that. So hit like, hit subscribe, tell a friend. We're getting record totals in our live streams day after day after day. We're trying to put out some great content, Warrior wise, Giant wise, and of course, Niner wise. We didn't do a post game after the Washington game because it was Christmas Eve, and my wife would have kicked my ass if I had said, honey, I'm not doing Christmas Eve mass. I'm not doing Christmas Eve dinner. I'm talking to Tim Donaghy's crew in the chat, and I've got to answer MF in the, I would be a single man, and that's probably not a good thing. We got this one from TC. Thank you, Larry, bro. Tim Donaghy's crew says, Larry, what are the trophies on the shelf? Fantasy trophies for beating Dan, most likely. What are the trophies on the shelf? Most of them are from coaching youth baseball with my sons the last few years. That's what most of them are. I've got the football helmet up there. That's the gold miner helmet from my time scouting with the Sacramento Gold Miners. The Krueger football was a football the 49ers gave me. The UK flag, as you see there, the Niner UK flag, we just got from our friends in the UK. Loving that. Just put that up there. But yeah, this is the studio. We're going to hopefully dress up the studio in 2023 as well and make it make it a little bit better than it's been this year. But then we got this one from Ben Affleck's Double Chin. He says, Gary Radnich, can you get Gary on the show? You know what? I might have to go through Gary's handlers to get it done. But I think I probably know Gary well enough through the years. I probably could get him to do it. He's a very private individual. I will say that. If you've noticed, Gary always said, when I'm done, I'm done. I'm not going to be the guy hanging around getting a free hot dog. Well, you know what? Gary is a man of his word, because when he's been done, he's not coming around. You don't see him or hanging around. He's doing what he wants to do, and he's spending time with the people he loves the most. And I respect the hell out of Gary. That's his wife and his two lovely daughters and his terrific young son. So that's who he's given his time, his money, his energy, and devoting his life to, and rightfully so. Love that guy. Love G-Rad. BV50, new member. Thank you, BV50. That's right. We should also mention for $4.99 a month, you can be a new member. And I'm going to do something. I know I have not done a lot of stuff for new members, but I am going to be doing a morning video that we're going to try to do every morning that goes just to members of the channel, that will give you a full breakdown of where you can find all the content, so on and so forth. But yeah, tune in tonight after Thursday Night Football, and we'll bring to you our Niner interviews from the last couple of days and take you inside the Niner locker room in advance of Niners Raiders come Sunday. And then on Sunday, don't forget, from 11 a.m. on Sunday morning to 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon on 95.7 The Game, catch myself and O'Neill. We'll be doing Niner pregame there. I'll also be doing pre and post game for Talk Sport out of London. And then I'll be doing a post-game live stream right here on the channel. And we're hoping to get 1,000 people in the room for the post-game of Niners Raiders after hopefully a huge Niner victory from Las Vegas. So good stuff to everybody. Thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. As I said before and said a few times, but if you can like and subscribe, that would help us tremendously. Until later on tonight, have a great night.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back.